Mariners lose 10-3. They fall to 30-31 on the season. They split the series with the Padres, and unfortunately, they fall to 1-4 on the road trip. 3 plus 2 is 5. Yeah. 1-4 on this road trip that I thought was pretty big and has been basically a disaster so far. We'll quickly talk about how it happens. Padres get one in the second on a Matt Carpenter single. Gary Sanchez crushes a home run off of George Kirby. It was probably his worst pitch. We'll talk about Kirby a lot. That scores 3 runs. Juan Soto is one of those runners who scored and has a monster game. We'll talk about him too. Juan Soto singles in a run in the fourth. 3 more score in the fifth. 2 more score in the seventh. The Mariners do score 3 in the eighth on a little bit of a rally that they had in a non-competitive situation. Hard to be too excited about it. All right, some positives. Jared Kelenic, nice game. 2 for 4, roped a double. Nice to see. Think moving him down in the lineup was absolutely the right call. Now, there's guys hitting ahead of him who have to do a better job. But, you know, Colton Wong scored a run. We are grasping at straws, folks. Good to see Dylan Moore play, draw a couple of walks. I think he's going to start getting in the lineup a lot more. I think he should be in the lineup a lot more. Absolutely should be. Here's a positive for you if you got to watch the game. And if you didn't, I wouldn't recommend it. But you got to see Juan Soto have one of his best games, and that's one of the best young hitters I've ever seen. So, hey, you got to watch a 5-for-5 Juan Soto performance. Lucky you. And I don't even mean that all that sarcastically. Like, Juan Soto was fantastic. His 265 average isn't where he wants to be, but 422 on base percentage. I mean, he's a special offensive player. One that if the Mariners could have gotten, I would have loved to have seen it. I think everybody would have, but yeah. Kind of fun to see Gary Sanchez have a little bit of a revitalization. It's a very small sample there, but it's kind of fun to see that going on too, because it wasn't that long ago he was considered one of the best young stars in the game. Maybe a little longer ago than I think. I'm old, but you know, positives in that regard that you get to watch some young players. Like I do think that's something. I don't tell people how to fan. I never will, other than always give foul balls to little kids. But I do think that that's important, is to kind of like, even to enjoy baseball, to enjoy life, to appreciate those other teams, to appreciate that, yes, you could be frustrated as heck, and I could do 22-minute videos on how frustrated I am by what's going on with this team. But you can appreciate what's going on the other side too. They're trying. There are, let's see, looking just at this lineup. 1, 2, I think 3 Hall of Famers that I will guess end up being Hall of Famers on this team. I still think Tatis Jr. will get there, even with the steroids, because the guard is changing. I think enough people will appreciate that he's that good. Got to stay healthy. Long way to go. Same for Soto. Machado, I think, might just be there for me. His defense at third base is so good. And I appreciate defense a lot. That's why Scott Rowland was a no doubt Hall of Famer for me. Somebody just texted me to say, Chris, you are absolutely right. Manny Machado is absolutely a Hall of Famer, and you're very good looking. No, it was a reminder to pay my Discover card. That's it for positives. Let's start with the negatives. And I don't love doing it because he was so good against the Yankees, but George Kirby was terrible. And this is now 3 of 4 starting pitching performances that have been awful. Kirby wasn't as bad as Miller and Wu were, but much higher level of expectation for him. Fair or not, George Kirby's your number 2 right now. There's a lot of pressure on him. And this is the thing about the strength of this team, is their starting pitching. We've talked about it verbatim, or verbatim isn't the right word. We've talked about it ad nauseum. We have gone over this a lot. But when your strength of your team is one ace and four, I'll say four now. I think Brian Woo's very talented, but young options. You're asking for a lot of volatility. And the problem with volatility is that the Mariners lineup isn't good enough to make up for when these guys struggle. And oh boy, are these guys struggling right now. Like I talked about this on Twitter. Yeah, it was easy for me to see the Mariners not being as good as last year. I didn't predict it, but it was easy for me to see how they wouldn't be as good as last year. And it was easy for me to see some struggles. I did not see them getting their butt kicked. Swear 10.66. I didn't see them getting beaten like this as often as they are. Over their last 11 losses, they've been outscored by 66 runs. Folks, that's like a 1,000-run differential if you did that over 162 games. Pretty darn close. I think 16 times 6 is 96, right? That's awful. They're getting clobbered. Now, look, some credit has to be given to San Diego here, and some credit has to be given to the fact that San Diego can't be as bad as they've been for all year. Even with this win, San Diego's 29-33. Massive disappointments for a team that was 3 wins away from going to the World Series last year. But non-competitive games are not good. Obvious point is obvious. I just didn't see this part coming. And maybe we won't see it over the final 101 games of the year. Maybe this is just a fluky thing that we'll laugh about. I sure hope so. I sure hope so. But going into this series, and yes, you do get the good win, and they played really well on Tuesday, but this is becoming a pattern too. The Mariners have had this habit of coming into series and playing really well and then laying eggs for the rest of it. They did it against Philadelphia. They did it against Boston. They did it now against San Diego. And there's a couple other that I'm just not thinking of. But every time it kind of feels like, okay, this could be the game. This could be the game. This could be the moment that this team, if they play like this, they're going to be fine. And it's been almost non-stopped. Not good wordage there by me at all. And wordage really isn't good either. But almost to 100%, every time it looks like this team is about to turn the corner, something like this happens. And no Turner can be considered. No Turner can be considered. Oh, folks, can you tell that I'm pretty tired? It's been a long week for Chris, and it's Thursday. Oh boy. It's just, I mean, they're getting crushed, folks. This is not 1-run differential stuff. This is not fluky stuff. They're getting crushed. And I got to go back to what I asked you on Sunday. What do you do? I said, I read an article. I'm not going to call this person out, but that suggested that the Mariners shouldn't trade the farm for options this year. And I kind of get it. I do. There's a lot that has to go right over these next 100 weeks or 100 games. Oh, 100 weeks would best about kill me. There's a lot that has to go right. But ultimately, I disagree. And I'll make it clear. I'm never suggesting give up your entire farm system for a couple of players. That's always a bad idea because you need those. It's not about prospect hoarding or anything like that. It's about you don't know when you're going to need to make deals, and you don't know, like, player development is a weird thing. Sometimes these guys are ready to go a lot sooner than you think. I've seen it a lot. Saw it with Juan Soto. Guy was in Double A. All of a sudden, he's up and a legitimate MVP candidate. So, yes, I do understand not wanting to trade a bunch of capital when you're not guaranteed anything, because we're deep enough that it's especially not guaranteed anything. Because here's the thing, and I don't think I've said this clear enough the last couple times. It's not just about the Mariners having to play better. You are now at a point where you need other teams to fail. You do not necessarily control your own destiny anymore, especially in the division. Especially in the division. You do not control your own destiny. Not only do you have to play exceptionally well, but you need Houston and Texas to tail off quite a bit, and not necessarily in that order. So I do get it from that perspective, but I'm not giving up on this season. And also, here's the thing. Jerry DiPoto is never, or Justin Hollander, or whoever the heck you want to say is in charge of the team, they're never going to make a big deal for they're never going to make a big deal for a somebody who's not under contract for the next year. They're never going to trade for an expiring contract, a bunch of stuff. I think the exception might be if Ohtani was available, but you're never really going to see the Mariners empty the farm for guys who are not signed for at least another additional year and that you don't think you can sign to an extension. So, yeah, I get it from that point. Don't give up great prospects for players that may not be with the team next year. But I don't think you can give up on this year. I really don't. And I understand if you do. Part of this is, hey, I want you to keep watching my videos. I'm selfish. But I'm not folding anything in. I don't think you can. There's too much baseball left to be played, and I do think this is an important season for the Seattle Mariners. So, we will see what they do going forward. I hope it's aggressive. I really do. I really, truly do. So they have Thursday off. I'm recording this on Thursday, actually in the afternoon. Long Wednesday. Long Wednesday. So tomorrow, we have a fun one. Luis Castillo against that Shohei Ohtani fella. I think this is a huge series. I I think if you lose this series, I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. I really don't. I really, really don't. Here's hoping it goes well. Here's hoping it goes well. Bummer. I just did not see, like, they've lost their. I'm just looking at the scoreboard. Lost by 7, lost by 9, lost by 10, lost by 2, lost by 8, lost by 6 since Monday, May 29th. And in between, you have a 1-0 win where you needed a zombie runner and the good game they played on Tuesday. Bummer. But I'm being optimistic today, folks. I do believe that this team is talented enough and with the right moves can get right back in this thing. We'll see if they're willing to make them. Follow me on Twitter at Crawford_MILB. Stay tuned today. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, folks, because I'm going to do a video today, Thursday, on the 10 greatest Seattle Mariner starting pitchers of all time. And I'm going to have a fun giveaway for that one as well when we get to 500 subscribers, which is not far away. So that'll be fun, I think. Be more fun than watching these last few games, man. Whew. Enjoy. Enjoy your off day, folks, because at least you know the Mariners won't get crushed.